CBC News exclusive for you next. A Royal Canadian Navy frigate has had an incident at sea with a Chinese warship. The close encounter was peaceful, but it's also telling in terms of the international tensions near contested waters in Asia. David Common is part of our CBC News team embedded on board HMCS Ottawa.
It is the type of close encounter that we rarely hear about and are only seeing because we have exclusive access here on board the Canadian warship HMCS Ottawa. And this ship was meeting with allied nations, the Japanese and the Americans, as part of a military exercise in the East China Sea, when a Chinese warship suddenly showed up very, very close. In these instances, there is, of course, the risk of a collision, but also an opportunity to gaze at an adversary.
We're not even in the Taiwan Strait. We're not in contested waters, and there's a Chinese warship right there.
They're operating near the waters, their own waters, and we're just operating in this open ocean. They're as curious about, I think, our behavior as we are of theirs.
This is Chinese warship 161, over.
The Chinese warship stayed in the area for the duration of that exercise, often very close to American, Japanese, or to this vessel, the Canadian vessel, calling out on the radio. It was a professional encounter, safe, although there have been instances at sea, particularly between the Chinese and the Americans, that are not always safe. Instances where the Chinese have cut off American warships traversing areas that are in contested waters. Now, China's Navy is now the world's largest by the number of vessels, and it is increasingly assertive on the high seas, particularly around its neighbors, showing up in areas like this. And it is part of a changing China, a changing region in many ways. The Canadian ship, part of a multilateral exercise to try to push that these seas should be open and free to all nations to navigate, even as China makes claims on some of the waters now considered international. David Common, CBC News, on board HMCS Ottawa in the East China Sea.